Can you say why America is the greatest country in the world?
Diversity and opportunity.
Lewis?
Freedom and freedom. So let's keep it that way.
Well, why is America
not the greatest country in the world, Professor? That's my answer.
You're saying...
Yes.
Let's talk about...
Fine. Sharon, the NEA is a loser. Yeah, it accounts for a penny out of our paycheck, but he gets to hit you with it anytime he wants. It doesn't cost money. It costs votes. It costs airtime and column inches. You know why people don't like liberals? Because they lose.
If liberals are so fucking smart, how come they lose so goddamn always?
Hey, and with a straight face, you're going to tell students that America is so star-spangled awesome that we're the only ones in the world who have freedom?
Canada has freedom. Japan has freedom. The UK, France, Italy, Germany, Spain,
Australia, Belgium has freedom. So 207 sovereign states in the world, like 180 of them have freedom.
All right.
And yet you, sorority girl,
just in case you accidentally wander into a voting booth one day,
there's some things you should know. And one of them is, there is absolutely no evidence to support the statement that we're the greatest country in the world. We're 7th in literacy, 27th in math, 22nd in science, 49th in life expectancy, 178th in infant mortality, 3rd in median household income, number 4 in labor force, and number 4 in exports. We lead the world in only 3 categories: number of incarcerated citizens per capita, number of adults who believe angels are real, and defense spending, where we spend more than the next 26 countries combined, 25 of whom are allies. Now, none of this is the fault of a 20-year-old college student, but you nonetheless are, without a doubt, a member of the worst generation ever. So when you ask what makes us the greatest country in the world, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Yosemite? Sure used to be. We stood up for what was right. We fought for moral reasons. We passed laws, struck down laws for moral reasons. We waged wars on poverty, not poor people. We sacrificed. We cared about our neighbors. We put our money where our mouths were, and we never beat our chest. We built great big things, made ungodly technological advances, explored the universe, cured diseases, and we cultivated the world's greatest artists and the world's greatest economy. We reached for the stars, acted like men. We aspired to intelligence. We didn't belittle it. It didn't make us feel inferior. We didn't identify ourselves by who we voted for in the last election, and we didn't scare so easy. We were able to be all these things and do all these things because we were informed by great men, men who were revered. First step in solving any problem is recognizing there is one. America is not the greatest country in the world anymore. Enough?
The group is responsible for over 50 attacks on U.S. soil and has over 35 compounds right here in our very own nation. Now, a new investigation by the Christian Action Network has uncovered some disturbing information about the spread of homegrown terrorists and what they mean for America.
It's a frightening thought: Islamic terrorist training camps right here in America, in our backyards. The group Muslims of America, or Jamaat al-Furqa, as they're called in Pakistan, have established over 35 communities across the U.S. The group claims to be peaceful, but a videotape uncovered by the Christian Action Network shows that they can have a much more sinister side. The video, called "The Soldiers of Allah," features Sheikh Mubarak Ali Ghanali, the mastermind and the leader of the group here in the U.S.
We are establishing training camps. You can reach us, at Royal Hope University offices in upstate New York, or in Canada, or in Michigan, or in South Carolina, or in Pakistan, wherever we are, you can reach us.
The tape goes on to teach Ghalani's American followers tactics in guerrilla warfare, including scaling mountains, subduing enemies, murdering guards, hijacking cars, kidnapping, weapons training, and setting off explosives. Ghalani is a Pakistani national best known for allegedly setting up journalist Daniel Pearl in 2002. Pearl was on the way to meet with him when he was abducted and eventually gruesomely beheaded. Armed with the, quote, Soldier of Allah training video and a history of Gilani's terrorist rhetoric, investigators went to several of the compounds to confront his followers.
You are a liar, and you're a liar.
Don't say another word. Understand?
They were met with denial, hostility, and in some cases even violence.
Clearly looks like either knife holes or bullet holes.
And the question remains, why have these communities been left to flourish here in the U.S.? And is it only a matter of time before this anger spills on over into a violent incident?
And Martin Moyer now joins us. 35 facilities in the U.S. Tell me this is not true, and how does this continue to exist?
Well, there's 35 compounds, villages, communities that Sheikh Jilani has inside the United States. They range anywhere from the east coast of York, South Carolina, to the west coast, Seattle, Washington, Hancock, New York, down to Texas.
Knowing the extremism that you're talking about, that he advocates here, and this is not in dispute, correct?
No, it's not in dispute.
Then why would the United States government allow these facilities to stay open?
Well, we spent 2.5 years investigating this group, and during that time we interviewed law enforcement about why these groups, why these facilities are allowed to exist in the United States. We got a host of reasons, but the number one reason is they are protected by the U.S. Constitution and they are protected by state constitutions in the United States. Really, law enforcement hands are tied in trying to shut these groups down.
All right, I want you to explain to our audience here, because you're describing this particular man, his involvement, you say, in the Daniel Pearl, beheading. How certain are you that every one of those compounds shares the radical views?
We went to 7 of these compounds. We had the Soldiers of Allah videotape, which your viewers just watched, and we said we're going to set out on a mission. We're going to visit the 7 compounds we were aware of and ask their leaders to watch this tape, either accept or reject Sheikh Jilani's call to be an Islamic guerrilla warfare training camp. None of them rejected that tape.
How is he connected specifically to each and every compound?
Well, each and every compound is owned by a group called Muslims of America. Muslims of America in the United States is their American name for a group based in Pakistan called Jamaat al-Fukra.
Which is the one that he is, and these are his words, and this is what his advocacy is. So in other words, let me guess, and you tell me if I'm wrong here, so that when you went to these 7 compounds of the 35, if they were to condemn the statements of him, that would mean to them what? For them what?
Actually, none of them would condemn him. These people believe Sheikh Jilani is the direct descendant of the Prophet Muhammad, that he speaks for the Prophet Muhammad. They follow him with utmost loyalty. They believe basically he is speaking for the word of Allah. They will not condemn him. They will not criticize him. That's what we learned. As a matter of fact, in one camp in Jessup, Georgia, one of the leaders watched the Soldiers of Allah videotape and said, what's wrong with Sheikh Jilani setting up paramilitary training camps inside the United States? I encourage your viewers to watch this tape, just see what happens.
Do you think Jilani's facilities in the U.S. are planning attacks on American cities, and it's almost unimaginable in a post 9/11 world that could exist? You're saying you think that they're planning, plotting, scheming the next attack against the Americans?
Not only do I believe that, not only will people watch this documentary believe that, but even the law enforcement officials that we have spoken with, not the ones based in Washington, D.C., but the field officers, they believe that. We've had law enforcement tell us they have weapons of mass destruction, that they...
What kind of weapons of mass destruction?
Well, in some cases I can't even tell you, Sean, because the confidential information that was given to me by these particular law enforcement officials...
So you're saying without a doubt you could look in these cameras tonight and tell the American people that there are terrorist training camps on our soil, we're not doing anything about it, and they're planning and they will hit America?
I would say without a doubt. Al-Qaeda would love to have such compounds that range from 25 acres to 300 acres sitting on American soil in order to hide terrorists, hide weapons, and train future jihadists for the United States. It's shocking.
Mr. Moyer, it's shocking. Thank you for being with us. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
And finally,
this national feeling is good, but it won't count for much, and it won't last unless it's grounded in thoughtfulness and knowledge. An informed patriotism is what we want. And are we doing a good enough job teaching our children what America is and what she represents in the long history of the world? Those of us who are over 35 or so years of age grew up in a different America. We were taught very directly what it means to be an American. And we absorbed almost in the air a love of country and an appreciation of its institutions. If you didn't get these things from your family, you got them from the neighborhood, from the father down the street who fought in Korea, or the family who lost someone at Anzio. Or you could get a sense of patriotism from school. And if all else failed, you could get a sense of patriotism from the popular culture. The movies celebrated democratic values and implicitly reinforced the idea that America was special. TV was like that too, through the mid-60s. But now we're about to enter the 90s, and some things have changed. Younger parents aren't sure that an unambivalent appreciation of America is the right thing to teach modern children. And as for those who create the popular culture, well-grounded patriotism is no longer the style. Our spirit is back, but we haven't re-institutionalized it. We've got to do a better job of getting across that America is freedom. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of enterprise, and freedom is special and rare. It's fragile. It needs production. So we've got to teach history based not on what's in fashion, but what's important. Why the Pilgrims came here, who Jimmy Doolittle was, and what those 30 seconds over Tokyo meant. You know, 4 years ago, on the 40th anniversary of D-Day, I read a letter from a young woman writing to her late father, who had fought on Omaha Beach. Her name was Lisa Zanata Henn, and she said, "We will always remember. We will never forget what the boys of Normandy did." Well, let's help her keep her word. If we forget what we did, we won't know who we are. I'm warning of an eradication of the American memory that could result ultimately in an erosion of the American spirit. Let's start with some basics. More attention to American history and a greater emphasis on civic ritual. And let me offer lesson number 1 about America. All great change in America begins at the dinner table. So tonight in the kitchen, I hope the talking begins. And children, if your parents haven't been teaching you what it means to be an American, let them know and nail them on it. That would be a very American thing to do.
Are you happy with the way that Obama has been running the country? You a fan?
No.
No?
No, I really think he misinterpreted his mandate. I think a friend of mine said to me the other day, I thought it was a great line, I no longer hope for audacity.
Really?
You know, you know, he's doubled down on a lot of things. Well, going back to that education thing, one of the things, if I were the Adjustment Bureau, this idea that we're testing kids and we're tying teachers' salaries to how the kids are performing on tests. It's just, it's a really, you know, that kind of mechanized thinking has nothing to do with higher order thinking. We're training them. We're not teaching them.
Are you a fan of Barack Obama's?
I'm not a fan of what he's doing at the moment.
Why?
Because I just don't think he's governing. I think he's gotten bad. I don't think he's surrounded himself with the people he could have surrounded himself with. And he's doing just what we were talking about. He's having to just lay out a certain line of that and hope people will believe it so he can stay in the position.
I did say President Obama's policies must fail because they're creating a socialist America. Now, why do I step out and say that, knowing I'm just going to get a whole bunch of other stuff coming back at me? It's important that we speak out. You know, if we see something amiss, that's our duty as citizens. I'm against his silence on Iran. I'm against Obama's lie that he was going to protect Israel, and now as president, he arrogantly tells them what they can do and what they can't do, as he forgot that our only hope to defend us against Iran's nuclear buildup is Israel, and I'm against his very cunning ability to push things, to rush things through without anybody having a chance to look at them. His stimulus packages fail. Slowly but surely, we can see that Obama's policies are failing. Obama is on his way to bankrupting America.
Look, he's been a horrible president. I always said the worst president was Jimmy Carter. Guess what? Jimmy Carter goes to second place. Barack Obama has been the worst president ever. The history of this country, Barack Obama is number one.
This is the United States of America. Why are you hurting people? If you want to go kill and hurt people, go to Iraq. Why y'all doing this to people? Y'all walk around in riot gear like this is a war. I saw them beating people, people that had nothing to do with anything, just grabbing people out the crowd. There's no honor in that. My mom, my father, everybody has served in Iraq, Afghanistan war. I did 14 months in Iraq. My father was in Afghanistan. My mother did a year in Iraq. We fought for this country. I don't come home. I'm in New York City. I am from New York City, and these cops are hurting people that I fought to protect. There's no reason for this. There's no honor in hurting unarmed civilians, and I won't let it happen. Have a good night.
I served with Kilo Company, 3rd Battalion, 8th Marines as an automatic machine gunner. There's a term, once a Marine, always a Marine. But there's also the term, eat the apple, F the core. I don't work for you no more.
What sort of training did you have as a Marine? I mean, were you given cultural awareness?
This Republican-Democrat thing, all the world is a stage. Obama is a puppet. He reads the script, he's a teleprompter reader, that's his official job, he doesn't make any decisions. The powers that be that have the majority of power in this world are those that control the financial system. The financial crisis engineered by these same criminals who are the ultimate fraudsters of the world. The Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, those are the real string pullers, that's real power. War is out of control, and those who are destroying this world by fraud and deception is what's out of control. 9/11 was the false flag operation used to justify the invasion of Afghanistan. It is the ultimate deception, and it's done for a full spectrum dominance agenda, which is part of controlling this world by deception. And unless we as people stand up to these treasonous traitors and all of those people carrying out this stuff and the colluders, including the mass media and the politicians, we are going to continue to get this kind of deception.
The individual is handicapped by coming face to face with a conspiracy so monstrous that he cannot believe it even exists. And that's the problem we have today. This conspiracy is so monstrous, so demonic, that we tell people about it and they say, you're crazy, this is America, it can't happen here. We have all the evidence needed to prove to anybody, if they'll just look at the evidence, that 9/11 was an inside job.
I wanted to fight in the war. I joined up, month out of training, I arrived in Baghdad, Iraq. We believed 9/11 was a lie. This is in 04. Every soldier served to believe 9/11 was a lie. We thought the people would expose the lie, know the war's a lie, and bring us home.
I'm outraged at what is going on. Again, they're using this idea of patriotism and honor. That's bullshit. This war is not about honor. This war is about profiteering. This war is about money. We're nothing but pawns being used for their political agendas. We need to wake up, and these politicians need to stop playing with the citizens' emotions and trying to give them this emotional high and patriotism. Let's speak reality. We need to wake up America.
What you see with people is that they're desperate to hear what they want to hear. For people to say, oh no, these conspiracy theorists, they're all crazy, you know, they're all paranoid, it's not really going on, it's ridiculous, and this is done to protect you, this is done for you, you know, we're the government, this is why we're doing it, you know, watch the telly, there's a game on in a minute, and you'll be fine, and we're just going to build another concentration camp, okay? See you later.
Take you to the FEMA camps being built by Halliburton right now to house 50 million Americans. They're building enough concentration camps in America.
If we don't act now, we're going to lose all our rights. And I served my country. I got an honorable discharge from the Army, and I swore an oath to protect the country from all enemies, foreign, domestic. Now, these people that are operating in our government right now are criminals. Whatever you hear on TV isn't what the reality is. You are losing your rights as we speak. You got H.R. 2749, which is a Food Safety Act, and this affects the entire country. They can stop all forms of transportation in and out of the state. They can destroy vehicles. They can declare martial law, and they can shut restaurants down. They can shut down supermarkets. And that's why they put all these hot button issues out there to distract people, so they argue amongst themselves, like race and abortion and terrorism and healthcare and God only knows what else. They got you all distracted, arguing amongst each other while they're all fucking robbing us. And people don't know. I talked to people today, they didn't even know what martial law was. They're like, what's that? And when I told them, they couldn't believe it. I mean, people have to wake up. And it's unfortunate, but we're at a point right now that if people don't wake up, they're going to lose everything that they fought for. That's where we fell off. We were out watching football or basketball or baseball or going on the beach or talking on the internet or texting each other, whatever the case may be.
The last nail is being driven into the coffin of the American Republic, yet Congress remains in total denial as our liberties are rapidly fading before our eyes. The process is propelled by unwarranted fear and ignorance as to the true meaning of liberty. It is driven by economic myths. Who would have ever thought that the current generation and Congress would stand idly by and watch such a rapid disintegration of the American Republic, which is equivalent to granting dictatorial powers to the president. Our presidents can now, on their own, order assassinations, including American citizens, enforce indefinite imprisonments without due process, treat all Americans as suspected terrorists. It appears that the fate of the American Republic is now sealed.
Every time our country stands in the path of danger, an instinct seems to summon her finest first. It's always the patriots who first hear the call. When loss of liberty is looming, as it is now, the siren sounds first. When ordinary hands can possess such an extraordinary instrument, that symbolizes the full measure of human dignity and liberty. That's why those 5 words issue an irresistible call to us all. So as we set out this year to defeat the divisive forces that would take freedom away, I want to say those fighting words for everyone within the sound of my voice to hear and to heed. From my cold, dead hands.
Hi, I'm Chuck Norris, and this is my wife, Gina. We are here to talk about a growing concern we all share. If we look to history, our great country and freedom are under attack. We're at a tipping point, and quite possibly our country as we know it may be lost forever if we don't change the course our country is headed.
With our country at a crossroads, Chuck and I have asked ourselves what we can be doing to help support this great country we're blessed to live in, and how we can encourage our like-minded American brothers and sisters to unite and let their voices be heard. It is estimated that in the 2008 election, 30 million evangelical Christians stayed home on voting day, and Obama won the election by 10 million votes.
We know you love your family and your freedom as much as Gina and I do. And it is because of that we can no longer sit quietly or stand on the sidelines and watch our country go the way of socialism or something much worse.
Our only hope is for each of us to make sure we have not only registered to vote in the primary and the general elections for 2012, but to make sure our voices will be heard by casting our vote on Election Day.
As Edmund Burke said, all that is necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men and women do nothing. Our great president, Ronald Reagan, said,
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same.
President Reagan went on to say that you and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We will preserve for our children this last best hope for man on earth, or we will sentence them to take the first step into 1,000 years of darkness. If we fail, at least let our children and our children's children say of us, we justified our brief moment here. We did all that could be done.
Please stand with us. Let's unite for God and country, and may God continue to bless the United States of America. See you at the polls. Thank you.
I was afraid the government would respond to the financial crisis by doing more of the same policies that caused it, which is more deficit spending, more cheap money, more central banking and central planning. And as a result, I think the U.S. economy is now poised for a much bigger collapse. I think that what's coming is a sovereign debt crisis and a currency crisis that will make the financial crisis of 2008 look like the proverbial Sunday school picnic.
Is it something that's affecting the economy right now?
Oh, absolutely. The fiscal cliff specifically is one of the major ways in which the slow recovery that we have could be completely derailed. Hard landing in China, euro collapsing, problems in the Middle East, and fiscal cliff is probably paramount in that area.
As a matter of policy, as opposed to an apocalyptic way
and the
to
most
get there.
important price is interest rates, which have to go up.
That is
but
the
no
price.
one wants to let them go up because the banks will fail.
We currently have no price integrity in any asset in America.
And we're on the precipice of collapse. That's
right.
where we are.
So
this system is in collapse, and it's unbelievable, and most people don't even see what's going on. If you watch CNBC, if you actually pay attention to the U.S. media, they will always tell you there's green shoots or it's going to be a recovery. Mm-hmm. There's no chance of that.
You don't think there are any signs of that?
It's not possible. We're in the last days of this financial system in the U.S. This is Zimbabwe. When it starts to collapse, it's going to happen very fast. If people don't start to wake up to what's going on, they're going to get hurt in this collapse. But this is where it's going now, that we have to now just get as far away from the U.S. and from the Western world because this collapse is going to be messy.
We've got to ask ourselves, why are the feds preparing for a war against Americans? Why have they bought now more than 2 billion bullets, all kinds of arms and ammunition, and now more than 2,700 tanks to patrol in America and keep order? We're told it's because they love us. We're told it's to keep the peace and to increase safety. But of course, we also know from Army documents, from Homeland Security reports, and a lot of other information that it's really to occupy America and prepare for a civil unrest and a total economic collapse that will include gun confiscation.
The rise of the warrior cop. So, what do you mean?
Our cops are getting increasingly like soldiers. They're being dressed like soldiers, they're being armed like soldiers, they're sent out in the streets told they're fighting a war. And when you do that, we shouldn't be surprised when we see some of the results we've seen at the lead-in, where they start treating American citizens more like enemy combatants than citizens with rights.
Meaning, mostly you're talking about these SWAT team raids.
Over the last probably 20 years, there's been about a 1,500% increase in the number of SWAT raids in the U.S.
Often is 10 or 20 guys dressed in black, heavily armed.
I mean, they look like a military squad. I mean, they look like a unit that would invade a village in Iraq looking for insurgents.
Speaking of the police state, which 9/11 ushered in, a 16-year-old is questioned by FBI officials over a YouTube video that he uploaded. According to Justin Hallman, a 16-year-old, after having uploaded a YouTube video which highlighted how America was slipping into a police state, he was visited by FBI officials.
Police state.
Ask one of them why they're here.
What's up, nigga? Police state. Police state, man. Police state. 4th of July. Here's our video. M16s.
Because we don't live in a police state, sir. Martial law has not been established in this country. The door, sir. He's got his hand up.
You're gonna kick my door. You kicked my door down. You kicked my door down.
Get on the ground.
You kicked my door down.
Yes, we did. Get on the ground.
No, you have no right to be in here. You have no right to be in here. You have no right to be here. You don't. You have no right to be in here. Do not touch her. You are assaulting her.
Yeah, I didn't open up the door. I would open up. Now they're barging in my door for one reason.
Down the ground, down the ground, down the ground, down! Down, down, down to your heads! Hands, come at me, come at me, come at me! Ow! Don't move! Please, don't move!
If what we saw in response to bombs was that, what would the response be in the wake of something bigger? Is that when we'll see martial law take effect across the country? And more importantly, will people just accept it entirely out of fear?
It was never meant that we would have this gigantic police force from the federal government. I mean, we had martial law up there. FBI and all these agents coming in, closing things down, going into people's houses.
The police state is staring us in the eye, and it's getting more and more imposed upon us and more imposed on society every day. More and more people are waking up faster and faster and faster.
I think it could very well come to that based on the things that are happening in the news, and we're seeing, you know, the collapse of our economy, so many different things happening.
I have spoken with one federal agent, and the information succinctly boiled down is this. There is an event coming, Steve, in the very near-term future that is going to affect the United States of America to its very soul. That what is being planned, as you and I are on the air tonight, and what has been coming together into that old term, the perfect storm, is literally brewing right over our heads. It is and includes military maneuvers in the United States, military actions that are forthcoming, and that will be so deep and so penetrating that the United States will never be the same.
We've heard about the NSA spying on us all and think, no big deal. I'm not a terrorist, so I have nothing to worry about. Think again. Because we are all potential terrorists, according to the American government.
You can't just do these kind of things. And this one is not only repealing the principles of liberty, but it's destroying the Constitution.
All of these invasions of our personal privacy under the guise of protecting us, they're just wrong. And it's no longer about keeping us safe. This is about keeping us safely under the government's eye. And it is clear the government is watching all the time.
Oil looks higher. Gold looks higher, currencies look weaker.
More about this currency crisis you see erupting. What does that assume about what's going to happen to the dollar?
Well, it assumes that the dollar will utterly get destroyed and become virtually worthless. I don't know how that inevitably resolves itself. It may resolve itself in some type of a global currency crisis. And then if the global currency crisis unfolds, then inevitably you get I guess an alignment under a global world government, a new global currency, and a new world order.
Growing debate in Washington following reports that some U.S. senators are now considering an immigration bill that would force all U.S. workers to carry around biometric ID cards. Well, it is an idea that is now raising some serious concerns among privacy advocates.
Through the advancing market of biometrics, technology that uses physiological and behavioral recognition to identify people. A system touted as a national security necessity is being used to build a database where the biometric identity of millions of Americans will be gathered and stored.
We really need to attack this in a comprehensive kind of way, not some knee-jerk reaction like sticking something in someone's finger to verify who they are and whether or not they can be employed in this country.
The U.S. Department of Homeland Security has been buying up massive amounts of ammunition. Americans are wondering why.
Do you think this is a sign that they're preparing for some sort of mass civil unrest?
if you look at what the Department of Homeland Security has been purchasing over the last year, it comes out to like 1.6 billion rounds of ammunition, more than 7,000 fully automatic assault weapons, 2,700 MRAP type vehicles, and now drones. Those are instruments of war. Department of Homeland Security's, who are they going to fight a war against?
Would I participate in assisting the feds coming into states and going into homes and taking everybody's gun away? And I said, I would not be a part of something like that. And I said, one of the reasons is I wouldn't want to get shot, because the American people are only going to put up with so much before they push back. And I said, if the feds tried to do that, disarm this country, I said, you would see an uprising and maybe a version of the Second American Revolution.
To believe in each other. Today we face the monsters that are at our door. Today we are canceling the apocalypse.
But you've had some remarkable statements that I have listened to and said, that's powerful. You've talked about the need of this country to pay attention to where we're headed, down a path that really is the equivalent of I think you've used the term, John, civil unrest.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we're in a situation where obviously at this hour we're being, the American people are being forced to do something they don't want to do. Hmm. Let me say this. I'm here to validate all the millions of people who are opposed to the Obama health care. Hmm. We're witnessing a slow and steady takeover of our true freedoms. We're becoming a socialist nation, and Obama is causing civil unrest in this country. What's going on? Well, we see, first of all, that the stimulus package didn't work, and now we see the government taking over banks. We see the government taking over car companies, insurance. We're being told what cars we can drive, how much we can make, and now they want to take control of our health care and tell us what doctors we can see and what treatments we can have. The people don't want this. They don't want the government into their lives in this way, and they're happy with the health care they have. But it seems that Obama has made this a personal crusade now, and if it's successful, if he brings this off, then it will be his personal triumph. He says, he keeps repeating, this is not about me, this is not about me. He says that, but as we can see, it really is about him, and he's arrogant, and he's adamant that he's going to get this passed no matter what the outcry. And he's trying everything, even the so-called God card. If you love God, he tells us, if you love God, then it's your duty to vote this health care bill in.
He did a conference call, John, with 1,000 ministers last week, and if President Bush had done that or others had done that, they would have been castigated for invoking the God card. Yeah. But he did that, and the liberal press sort of said, oh, well, that's okay if he does that.
Well, I say that they're taking away God's first gift to man, our free will. And if... And no man no matter what his title, even if he's President of the United States, has the consent of God to decide that he's God.
You said something to me earlier that I thought was very powerful. You quoted Thomas Sowell, who I think is one of the most brilliant minds in America today.
Yes, he is.
And something that he said, do you have, because I want to, you have it. Because I think it was
Suddenly,
very powerful.
It appears, and you know, people, you know, some people said to me, you know, you're getting on the old side. There's a lot of that stuff of getting on the old side, you know. When I was in Transformers, the director came up to me and said, we're going to run 50 feet or something like that to one of the vehicles to escape from the Transformer. And he said, John, he was very sensitive to me. Do you think you can do this? And I said, oh my God, I'm not that bad. And of course, and they say, and people say to me, how can you read? Like, I write big. But anyway, I want to read this quote. And this is what this great man, one of the wisest of our fellows, has said, this African-American writer. What they are trying to do is create an America very unlike the America that has existed for centuries. The America that people have been attracted to by the millions from all over the world. The America that many generations of Americans have fought and died for. The thing associated with America, freedom, is precisely what must be destroyed if this is to be turned into a fundamentally different country to suit Obama's vision of the country and of himself.
That is a powerful statement. Thomas Sowell, a great thinker.
There would be retribution, you know, on some level, one way, shape, or form. I've seen guys that are activists before and have spoken out about the VA and other things too, not just the VA, but other things too. And if they use their real name and they use their face and everything, unfortunately, I've seen their benefits be screwed with, claims dragged out longer. You know, if you think 3 years, waiting 3 years for a claim is long, how about waiting 5 or 6 years? Or even 7, or having your stuff repeatedly denied for no reason. So yeah, I've seen people have some retribution. My name's Popeye. I run a website called federaljack.com, and I'm a radio show host on a show called Down the Rabbit Hole. And I'm a veteran, and I get medical care and health care here at the Miami VA Medical Center.
What's the worst thing that you've seen or experienced at this hospital?
Let's see. Bad things? Well, there is the case of veterans getting hepatitis and AIDS from dirty equipment here at the hospital.
How did that happen?
Colonoscopies. Not a very pleasant thing. Something that guys have to go through when they get older. And you would think that such equipment would be sterilized properly in an autoclave, proper chemical sterilants. People have to take classes on this type of stuff, bloodborne pathogens, cross-contamination. They weren't doing it. They were giving it a quick, you know, they take a wipe out and they wipe it down really quick and you're done. And that's it. Well, you can't do that. That's not really sterilizing it. And all you need is one little tiny particle or whatever on top of a piece of equipment from somebody else. Say the guy that you worked on before had hepatitis, and then the next customer comes in, you know, doesn't, and they scope them. Well, now you just gave that person hepatitis. I'll never forget the look in this one guy's face. This guy had seen combat, 3 tours of combat, and he was a former Marine. This guy had killed people. He was not scared of anybody, and yet he was sitting in there waiting to find out whether or not his hospital, his doctors, who he trusted, had given him the golden BB in the form of some incurable disease that was going to cause him debilitating pain and screw his whole life up and everything else. I'll never forget the look on his face. This is a guy that, like I said, he's been through combat before, and the VA hospital reduced him to nervous and sitting there twitching his thumbs. Kind of, you know, that stuff. I know you're not a vet, but for me, it just pisses me off to no end, and it riles me up, because there's absolutely no reason to be doing this to anybody, let alone guys that have been through that kind of experience.
And you sustained multiple injuries, just yourself, and
my injuries were actually, mine were actually made worse by the VA. My initial injuries in the military, if the military had taken care of me right, I could have been back to full duty. But they didn't. They jerked my chain when they found out that I actually needed more than the operations I had already had at the time. They decided that the VA would take care of me better than they would. So they medically discharged me. And then it took me over 5 years to get my benefits with the VA set so that I could go actually see the doctor. As I was telling you guys earlier about the situation with one of my ankles where the damage was made more severe by me being forced to wait 5 years to actually be able to see a doctor.
how have they messed up, and what do you think they could do better?
Well, I mean, one, they got to own up to the fact that they actually did something wrong. That'd be the first solution to the problem, would be to admit there is a problem, right? So, you know, when they say, oh, we don't know why these young guys are coming back and getting cancer, this and that, well, look at the DU. When it comes to the funding, stop spending money on bombs, rockets, bullets, and guns. It's as simple as that. Stop sending young men and women to foreign countries to die for bullshit. There's your simple answer. And then you won't have this huge backlog of veterans waiting for VA claims, right? And we'd also have a lot more money and smaller national debt. There you go. Solutions.
Is this what you expected when you first signed up to the military?
No. I signed a contract. And in that contract it says that I will give you a certain amount of time from my life and I will do whatever I'm supposed to do. And in return, if I am hurt during that course of time, you will be responsible for it. And they're not. I mean, you have to force them to do it. The wait time for veterans for appointments at a VA hospital is insane, let alone the wait time for a claim with the VA administration. There are vets that have been waiting over 1,000 days for their claims to be processed. That's ridiculous. Absolutely unacceptable. And Eric Shinseki, the head of the VA, I'll go on record as saying this right now, okay? Eric Shinseki needs to do a better job. He needs to step up to the plate. I don't want to hear any more bloviating or, you know, coming up to the mic at a press conference and saying, yes, we're going to do the right thing. One of the right things for Shinseki to do would be admit that depleted uranium is a problem and one of the biggest factors in veterans coming back with leukemia and all these other sorts of cancers and stuff from the Gulf and Afghanistan. Okay, and Shinseki knows all about it because he was Doug Rocky's boss. And Doug Rocky was the guy that was tasked with cleaning it up. I've interviewed him. So Shinseki has, there's no room. They need to admit that DU is a problem, and it is an ongoing problem, just like Agent Orange was. DU, I can tell you right now, will be the Agent Orange of, it's currently the Agent Orange of our current generation right now, and into the future, 40, 50, 100 years. The people themselves that work in the hospitals at the different VAs are not all bad. When the VA system gets a bad rap, the people that work there automatically get like an umbrella label put on them, and that's not fair because there are really good people that make a huge difference that work at these VAs. Some just everyday people that if it weren't for them, the veteran's life going in and out of these places would be much worse. We really live in a very strange society where you'll spend tons and tons of money, eagerly spend tons and tons of money, run around with your Army Strong bumper sticker on the back of your car, I support the troops. Yet, when they come home, that money and that support isn't there. And although people do say, well, I love veterans, I love the troops, they should get health care, the government should take care of them. Nothing is really done for them, right? Everybody still kind of allows the status quo to happen. They still cheerlead wars. They still say, well, it's for national security, and they still send their kids to boot camp. If you want to, the best way to stop this whole thing is starve the beast. Don't join the military.
My name is Joseph Lozito. On February 12, 2011, my life was changed forever. It happened on the subway, just like this. I got up that morning, it was like any other morning.
Our change came to my rescue. All the patriots out there, Their love, their support, their donation, all made it possible. So never think that, you know.
Imagine you're a happy family living in Central Texas in a suburb of Austin, Round Rock. And one night you decide to smoke some marijuana after your 2-year-old daughter's gone to bed while you watch a movie. Something over 100 million Americans are estimated to do every single week. A good secret police neighbor smells the marijuana, calls the police, and they come with the CPS and take your 2-year-old happy daughter who'd never been in the hospital and never been sick and never been beaten up. You go for weekly visits with your daughter, and she's dirty, she's confused, she has black eyes, bruises, mold is growing on her body and her clothing. You go to the state and say, she's being abused, help her, and they laugh at you. And a month later, you get the call, she's on life support, her head has been caved in. 2 days later, they take her off life support, and she dies. Another victim of this tyrannical government that we have that is incentivizing the states to seize as many children as they can. Over 1 million of them a year. The Justice Department's own numbers show the horrific facts. The most dangerous place a child can be is in state custody. Little Alexandria Hill, or Alex as she was known, will never get to grow up and be part of the spelling bee at school or the swim team or softball. She'll never get to go to college and meet the man of her dreams and have her own children and grandchildren. She's dead. Another casualty of this sick society we have that has the largest prison population in the world. Every authoritarian state throughout history has been obsessed with attacking the family and seizing children from their parents. Nazi Germany, Soviet Russia, Maoist China. But they never did it on the scale that we see here in the United States. And every day I see cases in Texas alone where people's children are taken for the most petty of reasons and end up dead, raped, tortured, killed, their heads caved in. The children disappear routinely and end up overseas in snuff films and pornography. Our children are one of the favored commodities of the criminals that run our government. And the people that are in control of Williamson County, Texas, are famous for their abuse of the innocent and famous for their abuse of children that they've kidnapped from their parents. And I want to say something to the child predators in the police department in Williamson County and other areas in the United States. When we take America back, and we will, you will be tried for your crimes against humanity. You want to now charge one of the foster parents for supposedly caving this little girl's head in? You are just as guilty, knowing how hellish those facilities and those homes are where they warehouse kids for money. You know statistically there are more pedophiles and more abusers who literally torture those children within inches of their life, and that the state covers it up because it's part of a sick racket. And you need to know that it's all on your head, just like all the other cases in Williamson County where they've known people were innocent and known who killed people's wives and children and done nothing to prosecute the real criminals and gone after innocent people. You will be charged for that crime as well. And those charges are now forthcoming. And you will be brought to justice in Williamson County and everywhere else for the crimes you've committed. Your tyranny can go on for a long time, but sooner or later, God is going to cut you down. You shouldn't fear Alex Jones, and you shouldn't even fear the American people. You should fear God, because God is real, and God is the law. You will be held in judgment for what you've done. All of you, the judges, the police, you are all accomplices in aiding and abetting the torturous death of children in Williamson County and across the United States and places like North Korea, where they take families' children as well for collectivization into the state. For those of you who have only been passively involved in the industry that is the abuse of children at the hands of the state in this country. There's still time for you to admit the facts and go public and speak out against this evil and turn the tide. I will forgive you. The parents of the abused and dead children will forgive you. And most importantly, the creator of the universe will forgive you. And yes, even little Alexandria Hill, who is beyond your wicked grasp, will forgive you as well. Join humanity and let us stop the modern slave trade in children that is taking place in this country. And finally, all of you out there watching, there are children being kidnapped for the pettiest of reasons in your town and in your city. Become an advocate for those families. Volunteer to expose the incredible miscarriage of justice where a Stasi spy neighbor smells marijuana and a month and a half later a little girl's head is bashed in. Did that family deserve to have their daughter killed in state custody because they smoked pot? Is that really land of the free, home of the brave? Or is it really a system designed to capture non-violent, non-criminal people in a parasitic system? I'm Alex Jones signing off for Infowars.com. The ball is in your court. The rest is up to you. The innocent children are crying out, not just here in the U.S., but worldwide, under state and corporate abuse. Those children are counting on you to research the facts we've laid out here today and to come to their aid. If you won't, who will?
Now you can watch The Alex Jones Show live as it happens at Infowars.com/show.
You'll find links to all of our content there and a free 15-day trial for Prison Planet TV.
More than 60 movies and documentaries all in one place at Infowars.com/show.